Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more. The old man's library sanctum was always dark when the young man slipped in to conduct his secret research. He waited until the old man had retired to his chamber and long after the drugged wine had dulled him. The last thing he wanted was to be caught scanning ancient tomes, books that had already been ancient when Atlantis sank beneath the Mediterranean's blue waves. What the young man was doing was dangerous for two main reasons. The first, and the one he feared most, was that the old man belonged to the Circle, a loose alliance of mystics circling the Aegean, Ionian, and Mediterranean seas. These powerful sorcerers and wizards distrusted each other deeply. Before peace settled among them, petty jealousies often sparked deadly conflicts. Any slight, real or imagined, could unleash devastating magic. Eventually, they realized their powers were better spent on other matters than fighting one another. The Circle formed to communicate and mediate disputes. When peaceful means failed, they pooled their strength to enforce the will of the majority on dissenters. Only 3 years earlier, the old man had been stripped of his powers and standing by the Circle for trying to kill a rival. For an entire year, he was forced to live as a slave in that rival's house. Since his release, he had kept to his studies, and the Circle assumed he had learned to live in peace. They were wrong, just as the young man was wrong to think the old man was his greatest danger. The true threat, to both the young man and the Circle, lay buried in the old man's writings and research. The old man was the wizard Zefron. The young man, Kaelen, was Zefron Apprentice, brought into his household after the old man's release. Though Zefron promised to teach him magic, Kaelen's days were filled with chores, cleaning, cooking, tending animals, and caring for a strange herb garden. But no lessons in magic had come, not even the simplest trick, in over 3 years. At least, not from Zefron. After 2 years of frustration, Kaelen began sneaking into the master's library at midnight. He had learned to read the cryptic symbols because he was responsible for gathering and organizing Zefron materials. Now, he devoured the ancient books and discovered a hidden gift, an eidetic memory that let him recall everything perfectly. More than that, he realized he could put what he learned into practice. He uncovered the secrets of the herb garden, knowing which plants healed, which fueled magic, and which were deadly. He learned to project his spirit beyond his body while his physical self appeared asleep. He harnessed unseen forces to destroy and protect. He mastered many things. Over the past year, his power had grown, yet he hungered for more. He needed to become stronger because he knew the old man had no intention of teaching him as promised, but still had plans for him. To survive, Kaelen had to be far more powerful. It had taken nearly the entire combined strength of the Circle to restrain Zefron, and the old wizard's power had not lessened over the years. A shaft of moonlight caught his eye, shining on a book on the old man's desk, a book he had never seen before. Quickly scanning it, he realized it was Zefron's research journal. The heavy volume was filled with dense, cramped writing. He reread the final pages, struck by what he saw, a transformation spell, he was fairly sure. The purpose eluded him, but he memorized it carefully. Something about the spell puzzled him, so he studied the symbols again. Suddenly, all light vanished, and icy cold filled the room. Spinning from the desk, Kaelen searched for the windows only to find they had disappeared. Slowly, he understood he was no longer in the library. His eyes adjusted to the utter darkness, where a faint glow beckoned him. As he reached toward the strange grey portal, a shimmering light formed before him. Zefron appeared, his face burning with rage. "You have crossed where you were forbidden, boy." The words thundered inside Kaelen's mind and echoed in his ears. "If I didn't need you as a test subject, I would kill you now, slowly, painfully, over days." His voice dropped to a hiss. Kaelen tried to move, to fight back, but his body betrayed him. Then the wizard's face twisted into a terrifying smile, more chilling than his fury. "Maybe this will work out better. I still have you, and I'll use you when I choose, but now, I needn't hold back." Zefron gestured, and fiery agony surged through every nerve. Kaelen screamed, the wizard's smile widening. Then Zefron stepped back into the grey portal. The pain faded. That was a warning. The portal will let you pass, but what you just felt is nothing compared to what awaits if you follow me beyond. My servants will feed you, the portal stops only you. Now, rest. You'll need it. With Zefron gone, Kaelen regained control of his body but, shaken by the pain, collapsed to the floor and fell asleep instantly. He awoke when a guard appeared, tossing bread and water at him before hurrying back into the light. So others could pass, but could Kaelen? The memory of the previous night's warning made him wary. Feeling around in the darkness, he found the bread and ate. He knew Zefron had something dreadful planned. His sharpened senses, developed in secret study, confirmed it. He could try to escape, but that was too simple. Even if Zefron lied, guards awaited. Trying to leave might force the wizard's plan sooner than intended. Kaelen didn't believe it was a bluff. The wizard's threat matched a passage from one of the tomes he had read. Those cursed tomes. If he hadn't read that one tonight, he wouldn't be in this mess. Then a thought struck him, the spell from earlier. If he understood it correctly, he could transform himself into someone else, someone not trapped behind that barrier. Joy surged, then faded. Even transformed, he'd still run into the guards and be dragged back to Zefron. His rapidly growing power might have already pushed the wizard's plans into motion. Though strong for his age, Kaelen knew he was nowhere near Zefron level. He wished he were stronger. A cold shiver ran down his spine. The spark of inspiration returned. If he could transform, why not into a powerful sorcerer? That would at least give him a fighting chance. Better to die fighting than await whatever fate Zefron had planned. Resolved, he relaxed his body and focused all his energy on recalling the pages and symbols. He silently rehearsed the gestures and spell song, altering the words to fit the change he desired. At last, he felt ready. Swallowing his fear, he stood before the grey portal, raised his hands, and began to sing. The darkness seemed to brighten to white, but he still couldn't see. He pressed on. A crushing pressure gripped his stomach and chest, forcing him to fight with grim will for every breath. He continued. Sharp, burning pain tore through his groin, nearly bringing him to his knees. Still, he stayed upright and maintained his gestures. He sang on. Then it ended. Exhausted, he collapsed and fell asleep. He awoke when a loaf of bread bounced off his head. Crawling to where it landed, he felt wrong. He was shorter, lighter. Sitting down to eat, the bread brushed his chest, feeling strange. His hands moved up to find chests. He couldn't see in the dark, but he knew. Panicked, he reached down, accidentally knocking the bread aside, and found his manhood gone, replaced by a soft cleft. He was a woman. Was that what the spell meant, to turn men into women? But what about the other part? Was he now a sorcerer, or a sorceress? How to tell? A small voice inside said yes. Looking at the grey portal, understanding dawned. Somehow, she knew how it had been made. More importantly, she knew how to destroy it. Thought became action, and the darkness dissolved. Light assaulted her eyes. Blinking, she realized she'd never left the old man's library, only been trapped in a corner of his sanctum. Her heightened senses detected the presence at the desk. Zefron, writing. Without hesitation, she struck. Her attack paralyzed the old man, silencing him and stripping most of his power. What little power he retained without speech or gestures posed no threat, though she didn't know how. She just knew that. She circled the desk and faced her former master. His eyes followed as she sat on the stool she once used, before she had become she, not he. Who are you? The thought slammed into her mind, though trembling was evident. I was Kaelen, she said aloud, relishing the shock and disbelief on the wizard's face. I used your spell to become a powerful sorcerer. I didn't realize the symbol I couldn't translate would transform me into a female sorcerer. Her voice grew cold and threatening. Tell me how to change back, and I may let you live. Fear mixed with triumph surged in the wizard's mind, followed by a cruel mental laugh. You can't change back, fool. Only a male can cast the counterspell on himself. You can only be a man again if you are one now. I was crafting an unbreakable curse, starting from that self-transformation spell. I planned to avenge those who humiliated me by turning them into my obedient playthings. She delved deep into the wizard's mind. Though he fought back with all his formidable mental power, she was simply stronger. He spoke the truth, there was no counterspell. Over time, the spell's effects would deepen. She would remain powerful, but the feminine side of her nature would grow until it was as if Kaelen had never existed. Eventually, her life would feel as natural as if she had been born and lived as a woman all along. Even now, she noticed, she thought of herself as a young woman, speaking in the feminine tense. Though momentarily unsettled, that feeling gave way to the enchantment's strength. She smiled softly and mused aloud, this could be quite promising. You think so, slut? The mocking voice echoed in her mind. You'll crave men, many men, and soon. Your female desires will grow strong, and you'll need them to satisfy you. Surprisingly, she didn't find that prospect entirely unpleasant. Still, the glee she sensed in his thoughts irritated her. She'd have to deal with him. Besides, she didn't want to watch her back forever. With a resigned sigh, she accepted that killing him was inevitable. The last thing she needed was that brute lurking for any chance to harm her. That's enough, she declared, narrowing her eyes in fierce concentration. Suddenly, his arms rose, weaving complex gestures, and his mouth opened as he began to chant. Confusion swelled in his mind, then recognition, and finally terror. Stop. Please stop, no, and then, silence. Victory came with spoils. Zefron's entire library and laboratory now belonged to her, and she devoured every scrap of knowledge, her power growing with each word. Gaining control over Zefron Island was no challenge. What she'd done to the wizard had spread among the guards, and she could subdue any of them without relying on the spell she'd used before. Only Zefron could break it, and she had made sure he never would. Furthermore, with power from an ancient scroll, she subtly adjusted their minds to ensure their loyalty. One fine day weeks later, she walked her pet along the beach when one of her favorite guards approached, leading a tall, bearded warrior. Her rising feminine instincts stirred at the sight, he was truly impressive. She paused, letting them catch up. The guard took a protective stance, but the stranger bowed deeply, pressing her hand to his lips. "Milady," he said in a deep, rich voice that sent a thrill through her. "I am Theron, King of Ithaca. I seek passage home from the Great War, but my men and I require food, water, and rest." A dark smile curved her lips. "I am Althea, lady of this island. You are most welcome." Suddenly, a loud, squealing "Oink" interrupted them. She giggled and crouched to stroke the large, very plump pig at the end of her leash. "This is Bruna, my lord. She's a bit cranky, expecting piglets soon. Oddly, when we bred her, we couldn't keep her away from the boar. Bruna wanted him badly," she added with a playful laugh. "Still, it's her first time." The sow squealed again but calmed as her mistress gestured. "Now, my lord Theron," Althea said, taking his arm, "let us see what we can do for you and your brave men." With a flirtatious smile, she handed the leash to the reluctant guard. "I'm certain I have a lovely place for them to rest. You, of course, will be my personal guest." She led him to her home, Bruna trotting obediently behind. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.